Hi there. Welcome to the Imperfect Prophet Podcast for women who wonder. Frankly, as we go through life, I'm sure we wonder about a great deal. First as little kids, then as adolescents, then as young women, then as transitional women. What are we calling ourselves these days? And then you get to this point in life, or my point in life, when you're postmenopausal and wondering what's next. Wondering if the parade already passed you by. Join me, Wonder Wendy. I'm going to be your host as we talk about some of these unique challenges that face women today in a new millennium, going through menopause and trying to live a rich, full life. There might even be a few men and younger women that want to listen in too. That's okay. But there's a roller coaster and we're all on it. And I'm going to be your guide to help you figure out when you should close your eyes, when you should hang on, and maybe we'll explore some ideas for what works for you if it doesn't work for me, or vice versa. So join the conversation, pick up your favorite beverage, and we'll talk to you soon. Welcome to the Imperfect Prophet.
Hey there, it's Wonder Wendy here with another episode of the Imperfect Prophet. Took a week off, a little bit of reformatting, a little bit of rethinking things, and now we are back again. It is April as you listen to this. And it is spring. There is beauty in the air. We've had enough rain here in Arizona that things are blossoming. I have my glass of orange juice. Okay, it's late afternoon. There may be something else other than grapefruit juice. Did I say orange? I meant grapefruit in my glass. But I hope you have your beverage so we can hang out together, have a conversation, and just think about what's going on in our lives, in the world. You know, us queenagers, we got to hang out together. That is good. So now that I've put down my drink, I'm holding in my hand a Bic pen, a ballpoint pen, something so incredibly basic. It's a pen. Now, when I was a kid, you had to have a pen at hand because we didn't have phones to take notes on and take messages on. This or a pencil was our guiding light, which is really funny when you realize that not so long ago, people didn't even have these. They had to carry fountain pens. And I don't know if you've ever written with a true fountain pen, but that's harder than you'd think it would be. You'd think it'd be just like writing with this thing, but it's not. So, pen, ballpoint pen. Simple. That's what we call it. It's a ballpoint pen. But is that all it is? So what if I told you this was a medical implement? Yeah. Any of us who watched MASH or have watched MASH recall that episode where Father Mulcahy was called upon to save someone's life by doing an emergency tracheotomy. And he used the tube part of the pen as a medical implement. So is it a pen or is it a medical device? Oh, or is it a sword? Remember, the pen is mightier than the sword. What can we accomplish with our words? What can we accomplish by writing down what we really mean? So is this a weapon of mass destruction? A weapon of mass construction? It's an interesting thing to use in other ways. I raise this not because I'm being a philosopher discussing the definition of a pen or what a pen might be. And I swear to you, I haven't had that much of my special drinks, so I'm not that philosophical at this point in time. But I wanted to talk about how things get named. We have to have names because otherwise I'll be saying, hey, honey, can you hand me that thing that we use to write down notes on paper? Something like that. No, we need a name for it. But does a name then limit what it becomes? What a thought, right? So here we are with an object that we call pen. But it can be a medical implement. It can be a weapon. It can be an object of creation. It can be used to seal contracts long before we had those virtual signing of things. So this is something with many, many purposes, even though we still choose to call it pen, right? Or if you're from Texas, it would be PM, but whatever. That's another story. And if you want to hear that story, just let me know. I have a friend who, anyway. So here I am with my pen. Are we like this pen? We get defined in one way. We get one name. And then we get stuck on that name. So words, we need words. It helps us communicate. It helps us better understand each other. But we also need to be flexible in their usage. Now, it's been pointed out that Shakespeare, I know, I'm going way back here. And if you didn't study Shakespeare, here's a little bit of education for you. Shakespeare often used words in unexpected ways to make people think about what they were hearing. And here we are, hundreds of years later, arguing about a word and what it means and how it, well, triggers whatever you want to say in the local buzzword. Okay, I need a sip of my drink. But here we are in this time where these names, these labels become defining, and we also bend the knee to it. So when my husband first started calling me Wonder Wendy, I don't know if you remember me telling this story. It was very new in our relationship. And at first I thought it was a tribute to Wonder Woman. Okay, not a bad thing. I don't mind being compared to Wonder Woman or Linda Carter or Gal Gadot or any of those incredible women who have portrayed that role in the past. But what I needed to learn was to find the true power in that name. And the true power was I started discovering the wonder of the world, the wonder in Wendy. And I stopped being an imitation of Wonder Woman. Now, when I first started being Wonder Wendy, everything was red, white, and blue and stars. It was a bit of a problem. As a matter of fact, I still have a lot of things with stars on it because of that fascination with Wonder Woman and what she meant and what she was doing. But then when I started talking about myself as an entity and a representative of a generation of women who are dealing with changes and how do we deal with our lives when we haven't necessarily been given all the tools we need to deal with menopause and men and relationships and gender questions and all these things in a new and modern age. And I realized being Wonder Wendy was so much more. And that's when I changed my color scheme. That's when I got my own logo that was no longer Wonder Woman's logo, although I do occasionally still riff on that signature block. But it's really important that you find and embrace the name that works for you. Yeah. So now we're going to take it from me to talking about you and our world in general. All these questions we have you living out a name somebody gave you? I know. Remember those, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not good at math, I don't read well, I can't draw, I can't dance, I can't. Knock those words out of your language and stop accepting those labels that somebody gave you years and years ago. It's not yours to maintain. It's not yours to own. What is how you embrace it? You know what? I may not be the world's best dancer. Certainly, I'll never be a rockette. But when I get out and move to the music, it feels so good. Recently, I was at an event that had a fabulous cover band, and I got pulled out onto the dance floor by one of the performers. And there was that moment when I was like, oh, I'm not sure I'm a good dancer. I'm not sure. And then all of a sudden I was having fun and it didn't matter anymore. And then I started grabbing other people and pulling them out on the dance floor. I could just feel the negative energy leaving my body as I embraced how much I love this and how much fun it was. Let go of that label that binds up your brain that says, I can't, or I'm not good enough, or whatever. If you enjoy it, and you're not hurting anybody, and you know what, if somebody doesn't like my dancing, they don't have to look. she says, taking a drink of her cocktail. Yeah, that's a you problem if you don't want to see me dancing. Don't look. Hello. So stop being limited by these names, it's okay to call it a pen because, well, it is a pen. But don't be afraid to see what else it can do in your life. Don't be afraid to see what you can do, even with those original definitions of who you thought you were or what somebody else thought you were. Let that shit go. I know. Really, it's strangely that easy. I have a dear friend who was wrongfully accused and did not get good legal representation. And a lot of people say really mean things about her because of the way she was perceived in the media. And they don't know her. And I have to remind her of that. I have to remind her that I love her for the person I know her to be. I love her for being a person that rescues birds and prays that they will be okay. I love her for a person that will capture a spider in the house and release it outside because she doesn't want to kill it. She's an incredible human being. She's a healer. And she's taken on some labels other people gave her and forgets who she really is. And if she's listening to this episode, I hope she's really listening. But I bet you've taken on a label or two at some point in your life. I know I have. It was high school. I was probably a freshman. I'd worn what I thought was a cute outfit to go to school. And if I recall correctly, it was red tights and a plaid skirt. So it was kind of a daring outfit. It wasn't your traditional jeans and a t-shirt sort of thing. But I thought I looked pretty cute. And no sooner did I get on the bus than I heard a boy. His name was Michael. Not the Michael who's my friend now. I don't know what happened to that Michael. Although I think he ended up in jail. But that's another story. And I guess the whole theme of today's episode is not only pens and names, but that's another story. But I hear Michael's voice from the back of the bus saying, "There's that dumb old Wendy with bright red tights on." And I wanted to crawl off the bus. I wanted to rip off my clothes and put on blue jeans and disappear. Wasn't a choice, but I never wore those tights again. I never wore that skirt again. From this dumbass kid at the back of the bus who was being a jerk. I let him ruin something that was fun for me with his labels. Why would I do that to myself? Why would I allow myself to be defined by somebody who had the fashion sense of a 14-year-old boy? Ew. He was a 14-year-old boy. That's why I assume he has the fashion sense of a 14-year-old boy at that point in time when I'm telling you the story. So these names, these labels, we put them on and then we wear them. Just like you wear a name badge at a convention, it says, "Hello, my name is." But we wear these psychologically. We wear these name badges saying, "Hello, I'm not coordinated. Hello, I'm not pretty. Don't look at me. Hello, I feel awkward. Don't look at me. Don't call on me, teacher, because I might get it wrong." Okay, get it wrong once in a while. Jump in. Try. Do you know what they say? That you learn more from making mistakes than you do from getting it right the first time? I know. I love this idea. That you learn more from getting it wrong than you do from getting it right the first time. Which must be why I'm on my third marriage, because I'm very learned. Yeah, I've learned a lot in my life. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've had a lot of fun. And I've worn a lot of labels from people who wanted to tear me down. And unfortunately, it is not only the people who hate you or are jealous of you that stick labels on you. Sometimes it's the people you love. who say things like, you always do that. Excuse me? I always do what? That person in your life may be pointing out a truth that you're not aware of, or they may be projecting something that they do, or it may be something they'd rather you don't do because it bothers them. And you have to decide if that person is valuable enough in your life that you're going to change your behavior, or you're going to say, yeah, I do. And do you know why I do that? Can we talk about it? Is this a problem for you? Is this going to be a problem for us? Our families are the worst because they want to keep us in that little pattern of behavior that is part of our club of being in the family. I have 3 older sisters, and there was frequently a tribe mentality that wanted to keep me in my place because I was the baby of the family. That's not always easy to maintain when you're frustrated by your family. And for years, I made fashion decisions. I made decisions about my voice based on the comments, not even really criticisms, although some of them were pretty critical. But my sisters would make these little comments, and there's air quotes on comments, like, why are you singing like that? That would make me feel self-conscious about my voice. And the reason I would sing like that was because that felt right to me. It felt very right to me to sing that way. And sometimes I was imitating, and sometimes I was trying something new. And there were a lot of reasons I would sing the way I'd sing. There's a giant bug near me, and I hope he doesn't come any closer. Anyway, one of the dangers of recording outside. But I think he went away, so I'm going to not be distracted. Wait, we were talking about my sisters and my authentic voice. God gave me this elastic, fun voice, and I use it to sing, la, 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 la. But sometimes I use it to sing in funny ways, like, I don't know how at a very young age, I happened to see The Blue Angel with Marlene Dietrich. If you haven't ever seen that, it's a classic movie. It's the one where she really came out. That's what makes her a gay icon, is that one performance in The Blue Angel. But I was pretty young, and I remember I picked up her song like that. And I would go around singing, men flock around me like moths around the flame. If their wings get burned, what am I to blame? Can't help it. And that was my Marlene Dietrich. And I don't think I even really knew who she was. I just thought that was an incredible performance. And I wanted to ape that. I wanted to see if my voice could do that. And my sisters thought I was weird. Well, maybe I am weird. Oh dear, I think there's a bug in my drink too. Anyway, I'm not going to pay attention to that either. So, weird. Now that's a title people throw out a lot. Weird. Here's that label. Weird. Let's write it right across our foreheads. Weird. And who says you're weird? People who don't understand you. People who are confused by you. People who are jealous of you. People who wish they had the courage to be a little bit weird. If you're a little bit weird, like me, and I hope you are, I hope once in a while you are, even if you're not completely weird like me. When someone says you're weird, look back and smile and say, thank you. And move on. Because it's their problem, not yours. The city of Austin built an entire marketing campaign on Keep It Weird, a campaign that was so good that multiple tourism boards have stolen it now. But that was the way it went. Keep Austin weird. Because being unusual, being different, is part of the beauty of being human. It's part of living a wonderful life. A life full of wonder requires a little bit of weirdness, a little bit of stepping out of your comfort zone. Yeah. And that's when you can call your pen a sword or a medical implement or whatever you want, because it has many other purposes than just being a pen. And you have so many other purposes than just being what people define you as. So don't let other people define you. Be who you are. Now, I attended an event yesterday that celebrated a marginalized part of our community, or for many years, marginalized, the LGBTQ, or as I say, LGBTQ, LMNOP, QRST, UV, WXY, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. The LGBTQ plus community. And it celebrated people who had felt different for much of their lives. By the way, if it was a bug in my drink, I just fished it out. I didn't look. I'm not wearing my glasses. We'll just move on. Remember, and that's another story. But celebrating people who are different in our community. I don't know if you remember in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the Rankin and Bass video, the claymation one. Rudolph is exiled or self-exiled for being different and feeling weird. And as he starts his adventure, he meets Herbie, the elf that wants to be a dentist. Sorry, I need another beverage. And the two of them become friends quite quickly, bonding over their weirdness. And I don't know if you remember the line, let's be different together. Because really, all of us are. If you're too normal, you scare me. What are you, a Stepford wife? Come on. So anyway, this event celebrating the LGBTQ plus community. One of the speakers used Wicked, the musical, for part of his theme in his speech. And he said, being different isn't wicked. As a matter of fact, it's powerful. And he talked about Elphaba and how with her green skin, she didn't fit in. So she was alienated. She was demonized. She was labeled wicked. There's that word, labeled again. She was labeled wicked, even though she had a really good heart. But because other people feared her, they labeled her as wicked. It's a real important lesson that all too often, the wickedness we're seeing is actually within ourselves. We're not looking for the best in people, so we're not building them up to be the best person they can be. We are putting an easy label on that person. Yeah, it's not just about us being our best selves. It's about us being our best selves and not labeling others. And when we do, we have to be very careful that we say, so I'm sorry I said that. Are you bothered? Let's look for a better word. Or we have to stand up for ourselves and say, I really don't like that. But you know what? Let's find a better word. Or, yes, thank you. I am weird. Let's move on. If you don't want to hang out with me, odds are I don't want to hang out with you. But if we have something to work through together, let's find a way to do that. Lots of things to think about, all on the topic of a label. A label. Now, if you're one of those really organized people, you probably have labels on everything in your house. I really find those people amazing and fascinating. Obviously, I am not that person. I love to rifle through my big bins of crap and find things that are treasures that I forgot I had. So labeling sometimes doesn't work with my creative process, which is a really guilty admission. And today's bitch of the day actually did say, I have a very detailed and complex labeling system for things I will never need again. Ooh, that one's hit close to home. Anyway, I am not a deeply organized person, except for when I am. it's a very strange contradiction. And I don't label everything. And sometimes I kind of look at something and go, well, it says it's that, but proof of that is that my daughter Becca and Becca is now a professional costume designer. And I'm kind of to blame for putting that seed in her brain because I'm an amateur costume designer. And we would frequently go thrift shopping to look for materials for costumes because we were doing them on a budget. We didn't want to spend a fortune and we didn't want to buy new materials. We wanted to use things that already existed. And so there was often a game of, is this a hat? It could be a bucket. It could be a bowl. It could be a box. It could be any number of things. And we would look at something and go, are you thinking what I'm thinking? And she'd say, it's a hat. And sometimes it was. And sometimes I go, no, that's not at all what I saw. And then we have a discussion about what we saw and how we perceived it and how it could be used. Because many things have multiple purposes. Let's take it into the kitchen. Tagine. You know that seasoning that's from the Latin section in the grocery store? That stuff, so many uses. It's kind of tangy. It's kind of spicy. It's kind of salty. And I've had it baked into crackers. And those were the most amazing crackers I ever ate. And I'm like, how did you do this? And they said olive oil and tagine. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Ah, there went that big bug. Sorry, just buzzed my head. Anyway, I didn't mean to do that to you. But tagine. And there's a yogurt store here in Arizona that does these fruity frozen yogurts that they sell tagine as a topping. I can't wait to try that combination because I know mango with tagine is good. Sorry, I didn't mean to digress onto tagine, but just saying one thing can be with sweet objects. It can be with salty objects. It can be with crackers. It can be with rice. It can be a topping on your fish. So many things. So why do we think once something has a label, you have to do it as it is? Even FDA prescriptions. Oh, I know. So diazepam, which is now used for regularly, well, at least when I was having kids, my baby's now almost 24. So it was a few years ago, but I presume they're still using it that way, was found to ease minor contractions. So if you weren't ready to go into labor and you were starting to experience severe or somewhat tense contractions, you could take diazepam to slow that and not go into premature labor. Well, diazepam wasn't designed for that. It was actually designed for asthmatics because it was found to ease the diaphragm and the spasms that happened that led to an attack or contributed to an attack. But then it was found to have another benefit for pregnant women. So here's a drug that was designed for one thing that's now used for any number of things. Semaglutides, the GL1 inhibitors that we are now, many of us are using to control our blood sugar, to control our weight, started out as just for diabetes. So why do we continue to have this thought that that label, that this is just a pen, means it's just a pen and I can't use it for anything else? Or if I'm labeled as weird, I don't fit in. Or if I'm labeled as a bad dancer, I shouldn't dance. Go figure. I tell you, just fuck it. Use the labels as a basis of communication. And then use your communication skills to say, but, or the famous improv line, yes, and. That's an improv trick. If you're doing improvisational comedy, your goal is always, when the person throws a line at you, to accept that line and say, yes, and then say, and you add complexity to that scene. So when somebody throws something at you or throws a label on you, don't get mad. Say, yes, and when a man looks at you and says, wow, you're pretty, huh? And you know he's really saying you can't be very smart because you're pretty. You say, yes, and I have a college degree and I've done post-college work. Would you like to have another discussion? Yes, and incredible tool for improv and for life. I know. Here I am, multitasking. Who knew that improv training would come in handy being a queenager? Oh my God, there's another bug in my drink. Really? Anyway, I feel like I'm being assaulted out here. The outdoors is mean to me. No, it's not. Or maybe you're saying, yes, and you're outdoors, so you should expect there to be bugs. I've seen birds. I've heard children playing. I've heard my wind chime chiming. I hope you've enjoyed this ambiance of spring if you're in a place that doesn't have spring quite yet. My friends back in Vermont posted fresh pictures of fresh snow just this past week, several inches of snow, and we might actually get snow in northern Arizona over the next few days. So enjoy this virtual spring if you don't have spring wherever you are. And remember, a pen is more than a pen, and you are more than the labels that people put on you. This is part of the trick of leading a life full of wonder and leading a wonderful life. So until next week, I'm really excited to talk to you again. And I hope you are enjoying your life, whether you have snow or sunshine or birds or giant bugs or screaming children or dingling wind chimes, whatever might be in your environment. Enjoy it, because it's not about getting everything you want. It's about enjoying what you have. So until next week, have a great week. Have a wonderful week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Like what you heard here today? Then we should be friends. I suggest you join my Facebook group. It's a good way to connect. We can have a conversation, ask me questions, whatever you want to do. It is called the Wonderful Bucket List Life. That's Wonder-Full Bucket List Life. Be a bucket lister and join me on this adventure. Or you can go to my webpage, which is Wonder Wendy and Friends, join the mailing list, learn about the book I wrote, adventures that are coming up in the future, and other podcasts. I look forward to talking to you soon, and stay hydrated. Have a great day.